All right. And so now we're going to introduce the Speaker Spark. And I would like to introduce, she's on Zoom today. She comes to us from St. Louis, Missouri. Her name is Rebbecah Bennet. And her talk is entitled, Don't Go Back to Sleep. Living an awakened life. I think we all need to hear that. Don't go back to sleep. Her talk is inspired by the poem Don't Go Back to Sleep by Rumi, the 14th century Persian poet. It's an invitation to wake up from the widespread numbness wrought by our human conditions so that we grow into full promise of our species name, which I liked, Homo sapiens sapiens, which translated means wise beings. Rebbecah Bennet is founder of InPower Institute, a center for community healing and optimal living in St. Louis, Missouri, and its spiritual community, Spirit Rising. For 25 years, she has been a community healer and spiritual teacher, committed to the development and liberation of the human spirit, always working to elevate human consciousness and improve the human condition. In 2016, Rebbecah established Spirit Rising, a salon for the soul, as a weekly gathering where life's travelers meet up to share their spiritual discoveries, insights, and yearnings. After reading about Circle Miracle, I think she feels her community and Circle Miracle have a lot in common. There is a strong connection. Rebbecah is happily married to Dr. Salim Kenyatta, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, and is the proud mother of two amazing daughters, Willow and Sage Kenyatta. So, Rebbecah, we welcome you to Circle of Miracles this morning, and I'm looking forward to hearing your dynamic talk.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. I am so delighted to be with you today. What a lovely community that I've come across. I want to start by saying thank you to Ken, who I think might have been the one who found me. Is that the case, Ken?
Yes, it is.
Yes, 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 yes. So we had a lovely conversation, and I realized that I had found wonderful spiritual companions in this community based upon what was on your website. So I just want to start by saying it's good to be among those who have consciously committed to their soul's growth and development. You heard that our topic today is indeed inspired from Don't Go Back to Sleep from Jalaluddin Rumi, who is a 14th century poet that many of us know and appreciate. And I want to start with his poem because I think he says it beautifully. He says, "The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep." Recently, I have been in deep reflection about the opportunities and challenges presented to our species, our country, our community in the last couple of years, indeed, the last decades. And the truth is that whatever the particulars of your life, chances are that you have been touched by many of the things that have defined our contemporary experience, whether or not it's COVID-19 or it's political instability or division, or it's the wars in the Ukraine and in Israel right now. There's so many things that are happening that are showing up as disruptions. And you, like the rest of us, I believe, have been invited by circumstance, to choose differently, to do differently, and perhaps even to be differently in some subtle or profound ways by the many disruptions that we are experiencing. I think that collectively, we are being incentivized to change. So I'm not interpreting our circumstances as punishment, but as incentive, indeed, for change and transformation, to wake up from the widespread numbness wrought by our human conditioning and social convention. I want you to consider for a moment just how much energy the universe is having to expend, not just to get our collective human attention, but also to encourage us to change maladaptive decision-making and behaviors and systems so that we actually grow into the full promise of our species' name, Homo sapiens sapiens, which translated means wise, wise beings. You can't name a thing and not then have the invitation to grow into what it is that you call yourself. And the way my mother talks about it, she says, Rebbecah, you know, if you ask for peace, it's not going to come through the postal service in your mailbox. You're going to get circumstances that give you an opportunity to choose to be peaceful. And often those circumstances are going to be challenging you. And so I think if we name ourselves wise, wise beings, we get the opportunity to run into, encounter, be accountable for, right? All of the ways that we are not necessarily embracing or living the wisdom of our beings, but we get a chance to hold that material and to stretch ourselves into the fullness, thereby developing the wisdom that we have claimed as our natural state of consciousness. Increasingly, it is clear to me that the universe is engaged in a massive effort to grow us up, to advance the evolution of our species so that we take full responsibility for our personal and collective choices and behaviors. Spirit is not only committed, it is indeed profoundly invested in our maturation as a species and will offer us no quick deliverance. I'm going to say that again. It will offer us no quick deliverance or reprieve from the messes that we have inherited, made, or accepted. It is rather challenging us, daring us even, to step into our power as creators of life and death, by the way, and to wield this power more consciously or conscientiously, carefully, and most importantly, lovingly. The cosmic alarm bells have rung, and it's time to wake up from our slumbers. These labor pains, called global pandemic and widespread systems failure and economic calamity and war and political instability or environmental upheaval and cultural struggles for social dominance, will not let us fall easily back to sleep. Even the breeze at dawn is conspiring with its promises of secrets to wake us up to the better life that awaits our presence and our choosing. And this life, it's not a dream, this better life, for it is accessed only by our waking up, right? What an interesting thing. We can only get it if we wake up, not if we go to sleep to it. It's accessed by our choosing to shake off our collective lethargy, the pathological state of unresponsiveness and inactivity that's induced by fear, by the compounded traumas of our times, and by those who stand to benefit from an exploitive status quo. We must not go back to sleep, Rumi says. Says the universe, not just Rumi. Says the heart that's beating in your chest right now, at this very moment. Wake up! Wake up, they say. And not just wake up, but ask for what you really want. Ask for what you really want. And then choose it. Choose it with every fiber of your being. Choose it right now. Choose it. For this is the only moment in which we have the power to act, is the now. It's the now. Can we even imagine, individually and collectively, a reality that is rooted in what we really want, rather than the mess and the madness and the monotony that passes for normalcy for so many of us? And furthermore, do we have the courage and curiosity to cross the door sill where Rumi says the two worlds touch, where our material and our spiritual existences intertwine? That's what that door sill is. That's the two worlds. To move across this threshold requires that we first embrace our multidimensional natures as energy and matter, as wave and as particle, as divinity and humanity, as beings of light and as life's primordial darkness. We are all of these states, for we contain the multitudes. And it's in this understanding of our irrevocable wholeness that enables us to access the full measure of life's resources and supports, so that we are endowed and equipped to create and co-create the lives that we really want. I'd like to sort of state this more plainly. There are no closed doors in wholeness. There are no closed doors there. What we perceive to be as barriers, as constraints, and as endings are merely the spaces where our consciousness meets life's mysteries. And we've either chosen not to journey onward or believe that nothing more exists. The door to life is open, Rumi says. It's open. It's open. Don't go back to sleep. The door is open. The longing that we feel is for the other parts of ourselves that have been forgotten or abandoned in the realms of heart and soul. Do we dare to cross the doorsill into these realms of deepest feeling, being, and meaning? Only by doing so will we unearth and come to experience the hidden treasures that we really want. I want us to pause here for a moment to consider what in this, your most precious life, do you really want? What do you really want? Remember that you must ask for it. For your daring to acknowledge, affirm, and request are indeed the ways that you cross the doorsill and enter into creative partnership with the indwelling spirit and the unending universe. It's our attention our vested attention that moves us across the door sill because it's not being withheld what it is we really want. But we must choose. Open to, trust, try. Many years ago, in fact, 22 years ago, I went on a vision quest. I left my life, took a 3-month sabbatical, packed up my Ford Aerostar stick shift van, and went backpacking off across the country. Went to Colorado and the canyons of the Four Corners, and sequestered myself in the mountains of Utah with a backpack and a sleeping bag and a tarp and some basic survival gear. And I went in search of a more personal relationship with the God of my understanding. And there were some others who accompanied me to the mountains, but we all went in our own directions. And I spent, I don't know, 5-6 days fasting and praying in the mountains, really sort of asking for what I really wanted. And what I really wanted was an extraordinary life led by Spirit, a life fully, brilliantly, and completely turned on, a life where I was turned on, where my soul was turned on, rather than a life that was turned off. And this happened to be one of the most transformative experiences of my life, because after the fasting and the praying, I encountered many things there. I encountered a lot of my assumptions and expectations about life were challenged. I got deep insight. It felt like a soul initiation in many ways. I got deep insight into my life's purpose and the essence of my being, and some fundamental assumptions I had about life that were flawed and erroneous. And I could see it once my days were stripped of the people engagements and the food engagements and the meetings and the routines and the work and all of those things, when all of the minutia, all of the marbles of my life had been cleared out of the way. I could see what an extraordinary gift and opportunity this was, and that I had absolutely enough time. Enough time. What would I do with it? However many days, what would I do with it? And I had mountaintop experiences, you all, which I won't bore you with this time. Next time, maybe you invite me back, we'll talk a little bit about them. But I had mountaintop experiences, and I asked for an extraordinary life, and I accepted my calling in the world, and I did so in the bosom of nature, and I felt so alive and so vibrant. And then I went back home 3.5 months later, and my life fell apart. Right? And I don't know what your mountaintop experiences are like, but I found that this is not uncommon for many. I went back home and I found that my old life was falling apart. And you see, I had thought that my mountaintop experience, where I asked for what I really want, I had thought, like, man, this is the extraordinary life. This is the kind of thing that I want, like, every day. This is what I want. And yet I had to go back into my everyday, back into the valleys of my life. I had to turn back around. And when I did, what I found in my heartbreak, because I said, I had such an extraordinary experience. I'm clear. And now my life is falling apart. And I wailed and cried and cried and wailed. And in my meditation, what Spirit said to me was, Rebbecah, 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 you asked for an extraordinary life. I'm not withholding it from you. Now you must make room. The extraordinary doesn't fit within the old confines, the old structures, the old beliefs, the old relationships in the same way. We must make room. I'm simply making room for you to have what it is you have chosen. This is what it looks like. When we crossed the threshold, we had no attachment. Spirit had no attachment to my structures because they were not in alignment with what it was I really wanted. Physicist Dr. Brian Swim says that life will destroy great beauty for the purpose of emergence. And he was talking about that as both a cosmic phenomena and a human one and a spiritual one. So I'd like to say from that, let us be careful to not ask for something that we really want, but then not choose it because we're sort of unwilling to take responsibility for it in some ways or to shift something about it. Another aphorism from my mother is, don't be at the train station when your ship comes in. Right? How many of us sort of beg and plead with spirit, give us our heart's desires, but then we don't necessarily make room when those desires arrive because they didn't come the way we expected they would come, or because they require that we let go of something that is familiar, or because they compel us to show up differently in order to access them. Now, I know I just can't be talking about my own behavior, but I don't know you well. So I don't know if you too have somehow struggled with this at times. So I'd just like us to take a moment as we prepare soon to conclude that what is it that you really want again, and that you're willing to choose to be more you for, more of the essence of being. Tithing the essence of being to. What is it that you really want to be, experience, do, have in this here precious life? And where in your wanting will you need to relinquish control? Practice trust as a condition of your life's fulfillment. Beyond asking for what we really want as we conclude, what else might we do to awaken to life's fullness and our greatest potential? I'd like to suggest that we adopt impeccability as a practice. Now, impeccability, as I'm referring to it, is not the sort of traditional Western connotation which focuses on the absence of sin. No, today I'm drawing inspiration from the shamanic traditions of the Yaqui Indians, who understand impeccability as the best use of our energy, of our life force. And furthermore, I'm suggesting that we can make a practice of discerning, of choosing, of applying the best use of our energy so that we are not in perennial life-wasting conflict with ourselves and with others. Such a practice is necessary if we are to actually experience what we really want in our lives. For it does us no good to ask God or Spirit or the universe or whatever it is that you and we call it to order our steps and to fulfill our heart's desires if we are unwilling to move our feet, if we are unwilling to engage in more conscientious action. So how do we do this? We can apply an impeccability lens to our processing, to our decision-making. We can curiously and honestly ask ourselves a series of questions throughout our day. 1, is this the best use of my energy, of my life force? Am I in any way in conflict with my soul's understanding or longings? Just as we move throughout our day. Or beneath the surface of my attention, is there something else that's calling to me, longing for my engagement? Right? Just a bit of a pause to check in with our intuitive selves. Or how's my life enhanced or degraded by the current use of my energy? Or perhaps how are others' lives enhanced or degraded by the use of my energy? And what can I do to make the best use of my energy in service to myself and the good of the whole? We can do these sort of energy checks, any of them, one of them, all of them, any of them, as we move throughout our days to reduce the likelihood that we'll be working against ourselves unconsciously or against the well-being of others. It can slow or stop the leaking of life force that leaves us enervated and lethargic, starving for fulfillment while seated at the banquet of life. Now, this practice of impeccability can be liberating instead of damning if we are willing to assume two very necessary postures. They are grace, which is an understanding that whatever it is we choose, whatever it is we do and be, we cannot fall out of favor with love. We cannot fall out of favor with love, for love in its impeccability and unconditionality engages every thought, action, and experience as an opportunity to extend itself. There is simply no circumstance, condition, context, situation, or choice where love is incapable and unwilling to show up. And the second posture is grit, which is the ability to persist when we face obstacles and to persevere so that we experience long-term meaningful goals. Let's let both grace and grit be our companions in this impeccability practice, because neither will fail us. And the result, I believe, will be greater alignment across the dimensions of our being, more vitality, more vibrancy, a life where you are fully turned on instead of falling back to sleep. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell us. We won't go back to sleep. We now ask for what we really want. We won't go back to sleep. We are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open, and we are fully awake. Thank you, Circle of Miracles. Thank you.
Wow.